Now, Uncle Jim and Aunt Josie weren't fussy about town. They found it too noisy and too hard to get around. "Sure, an hour in that place," said Jim, "and I'm drove, and everything I wants is right here in the cove." "Yes, sir," Joe said, "and last time we was in, to see Uncle Ned doing time at the pen, we stopped into one place to buy him some flowers and went round Rollins Cross for 2 or 3 hours. And remember that time when Regatta was on, with all those queer little boats on that pond? Sure, 6 great big fellows in one little run." "Yes, maid," said Jim. "Nasty crowd in a punt." Yeah, you could say Jim and Josie weren't fussy about town and steered clear of the place except every now and then when they had a good reason to go, and this looked like it might be one of those times, you know. They were playing crib in their kitchen one day in late June, drinking tea and listening to radio noon. Jim had just cut the cards, and Joe's turned the 9 up, and Ramona gave out the folk festival line-up. "The crowd of bold Sherman." "They're good," said Aunt Jos. "Good," said Uncle Jim. "There's none better, I suppose." "The Friels and the Marsburs and the Dardanelles too, and from the West Coast, Mike MacDonald and Lou." "Oh my," said Jim, "quite the line-up, I suppose." "Too bad they haven't got Ron on," said Jos. "And also," said Ramona, "I'm so pleased to tell that Ron Hines will appear on the main stage as well." "Oh my, Jim," said Jos. "Now you know I loves Ron. I suppose Sonny's Dream is my favourite song." "Well, maid," said Jim as he put his cards down, "I suppose we can manage one trip into town." Now, when the day came to go into town for the show, they jumped in Jim's old pickup truck, and you know he had all his usual gear just the same, a skidoo and a 12-foot pond boat on a frame, a 6-horsepower outboard, spare gas and vice grips, and a few other tools and a few rabbit slips, and to sell to the townies they had on 2 kettles of salt fish, you know now, just the essentials. A 16-foot trailer was hooked on in back with a microwave, TV, and Jim's old 8-track. They had on fresh milk and fresh cream in a dish, bottled tur, seal, and moose. Yes, sir, all you could wish. Arriving in town, they had pretty good luck and found parking spots for both trailer and truck, and a place for their chairs on the grass in the shade, not too far back or too close to the stage. 'Twas a pretty nice day, about 20 degrees, the sun splitting the rocks, and a nice little breeze. "Huh," said Uncle Jim as he looked at the sky. "It might be nice now, but we'll see by and by." With that, sir, the wind swung around to the east and the temperature dropped about 20 degrees. Joe started to biver, Jim let out the curse, Anita Bess rolled her eyes and said, "Oh, me nerves." The crowd of bold Sherman opened the show and walked out on stage in 6 inches of snow. The people had snowsuits to deal with the storm. Jim Payne danced the whole set just to keep warm. Then around 9 p.m. the wind changed again and it warmed up enough that the snow turned to rain. 'Twas running like ducks by the time it got dark, with 4 feet of water in Bannerman Park. The people all floated on various crafts, such as coolers and inner tubes lashed into rafts. Daniel Payne played a set while Shirley got ready, and Jim had his pond boat moored off in a steady. Jos had a rod out to drop a line in, when Bob Earl paddled up in a recycle bin. He wondered if Jim could perhaps lend a hand. The navigators needed to get to dry land. "Sure, boy," says Jim. "Lots of room in the flat. Suppose they knows the way with a name such as that." But as the boys got aboard and Jim started to row, the temperature dropped down to 20 below. The next thing they knew, sir, the whole pond was froze, and Craig Young was on stage with his song, "Henry Rose." "Oh, well," said Jim, "slight change of plan," and he hooked up the flat to his old 12 Elan. He spent 2 or 3 hours making runs on the ice, getting bands to their shows. He had to once aboard twice. Then he thought that he'd stop for a lunch between whiles when he met Harry Martin out looking for swiles. Then faster than time, sir, it turned off right mile. The ice disappeared and the people went wild. The crowd in the beer tent all let out a cheer. Said Uncle Jim, "lots of people in there." By Saturday evening it was looking like drought. "Oh my," said Josie, "I'm fair rendered out." "Yes, mate," said Jim, "'tis 30 degrees. Guess I'll put on my shorts now and show off my knees." John Clark used his hat to wipe sweat from his head. "At least now there's no plague of locusts," he said. Jim had just opened a bottle of flippers. "Look, Josie," he said, "at the size of those nippers." 'Twas a biblical plague, but it didn't last long, just till the leaves on the trees were all gone. Said Dave Penny, as people lit lanterns. "Perhaps I'll do bass now and not the elm spanworms." On Sunday the crowd called for Ryan the Wizard to call off the sandstorm, tornado, and blizzard, for he was acknowledged as the grand poobah of meteorological phenomena. And wouldn't you know it, around supper time the weather got civil and it turned off to fine. Things were on schedule in spite of the day, 'cause we don't mind the weather too much in town, eh? Then the crowd in the beer tent all had to go get a good spot for Pam Morgan, and then hey Rosetta. The fortunate ones had their musical touch. I just wanted them in 'cause I liked them so much. And as the evening wound down, the moon rose in the sky, and warm breezes struck in from the south by and by. People smiled when Sandy and Jenny went on. The last act for the night? Well, you know now 'twas ran. And as the crowd settled in to enjoy the performance, and young children slept in the arms of their parents, a mood of contentment swept over the place, and they took off their sneakers and gave up the race.